all set?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
It is 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna call to order the February 24th, 2026 Canterbury Planning Board meeting. For the minutes, note that currently absent are Logan, Rich, and Megan. First item of business is approval of the minutes. The first up is the January 27th, 2026 draft meeting minutes. I believe, other than some minor grammatical suggestions, the only substantive suggestion came from Megan. We have a printout of this. And happy to discuss anyone's concerns on that. I have some suggested changes to Megan's proposal on line 68. With my goal was to keep the factual matter, the who said what that she wanted included without getting into characterizing any of the comments. So
That sounds like a good plan.
suggested change, if you're looking at the line 68 insert from Megan, is before the first line, right, several board members responded directly to Mr. Todd's comments regarding bonus density. And then change the first line to, or Megan began to respond to Mr. Todd, comma, at which time Rich directed Megan to address all questions to the chair to avoid direct back and forth with members of the public. And then in the next line, keep from Megan asked whether this directive applied equally until public questions. And then add a comma and say after which she cut the rest of that until continued her response to Mr. Todd.
I'm confused, where is this?
The
So
bottom
you have a-
section, line
I
68.
got that.
Right there. So this is a proposed addition.
After line 65?
Line 65, the suggestion is to change this to this.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about line 68, which the proposal is just to add
Okay.
entirely new sentences.
So you're proposing that it say several members responded. Does that mean we are
So,
taking that, because we've just said that in line 65, that other members responded?
yeah, it is slightly redundant, but it's sort of moving it around. So Megan,
Whatever you think.
and I'll read it back and we can discuss, but Megan, can you hear us all?
Yes.
So we're currently in the January 27th suggested minute changes.
Mm-hmm.
And on your proposed insert to line 68, I had some suggested changes with the goal of keeping the factual matter in terms of who said what, while avoiding any characterization of those facts. So my proposed change would be to keep most of that line 68 except for one at the start, to replace that following a similar exchange, instead to start with several board members responded directly to Mr. Todd's comments regarding bonus density. Then start with the first line you have there, Megan began to respond to Mr. Todd. And then have a comma and say at which time Rich directed Megan to address all questions to the chair to avoid direct back and forth with members of the public. So that would, from your suggestion, remove the word comment following a similar exchange between Joshua, Logan, and Mr. Todd, and the words interrupted and.
I would object to all of this. It's a little bit internal, it calls out people personally. I think it's a small issue with some, who said what about a very small matter, and I don't think it's kind to any of the people involved. So I would, the last sentence about current density bonus limited in prior applications and so forth, that's great, that's on point, but the rest of it all just seems, interpersonal and not relevant to the minutes.
Josh, can I characterize that then as your suggestion maybe is instead have Megan noted that the board had found the current density bonus incentives limited in prior and keep that,
Keep
those
that
two
part.
sentences and just start it with
Yeah,
Megan proposed. Megan, any thoughts on your initial proposal, any of the sort of the two suggestions from myself or Joshua?
I'm fine with your suggestions, Brendan. Yeah, I can understand why it was left out of the minutes, but it was a thing that was said in the minutes, and it is, I think, important. I would agree with you, Joshua, if this was a one-off event, but to have a continued pattern of disrespect and interruption and have that not documented is a problem. So I think that at a point where it becomes disruptive and particularly targeted, where I'm regularly and routinely interrupted, I think it needs to start being on the record because it was said. It's not including anything that was not said in the meeting, and that's why I would like it included.
I appreciate you bringing it, highlighting it and, among us, but I feel like the record, the minutes are for posterity and for 100 years from now when, somebody is doing the research. This is just irrelevant. And I don't think the problem's serious enough to other than you having called it out, which I think is a good idea, I don't think it belongs in the minutes.
Well, so we are to call out and say things in public session that shouldn't go in the minutes? Then what would be the point of calling them out?
So I think that, if I can jump in if you mind, the purpose of minutes is not to have every single thing that was said in a meeting, and they are to summarize the conversation. And the current minutes have, and I forget the exact line, but that the various board members reiterated that the board would be looking at density bonuses, that it's a complicated topic, that sort of, without getting to exactly what each person said. I at least, speaking just for me now, am open to identifying that you started to respond to Mr. Todd and Rich directed you to address questions to the chair, and the line that you requested, which it is true and it is in the recording, Megan asked whether this directive applied equally to all board members when responding to public questions, and then just go on to after which she or you in this case continued your response to Mr. Todd and has the specifics. So that is giving more detail, and it is referring to what happened in terms of there being a direction that you address questions to the chair, but omitting things that I think are, to Josh's point, really shouldn't be in minutes, like characterizing as interruption, and then the line, the response to Megan asked whether this applied equally to all board members, it did not, so cutting the it did not after acknowledged chair and just trying to stick to what actually happened. That's sort of my approach, to get in between sort of your concerns and to address them while also trying to ensure that the minutes don't end up with these types of characterizations and sort of detract from what the board is actually doing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm fine with taking any kind of characterization of the word interrupted and things like that out of it. I still maintain that when something becomes a pattern, particularly when that person is holding a position of power as a chair or vice chair, we have code of ethics now and things like that. But if there is nothing on the record to point to show a pattern, then why have it? So I think this is something that is said. It is something that happens to me quite frequently. And it is a problem with decorum that has been addressed many times in many ways. And I think it needs to start being documented.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Anything further? If not, I'm gonna sort of try to get a sense from the board in terms of no change, the sort of approach that I suggested or your original insert proposal. That works. Logan, of those sort of three options that we've discussed, any of those that you prefer?
I have no objection to Megan's version. I think your version is a nice diplomatic thread the needle on this. I am inclined at this point to agree with Megan that this is a pattern that needs documentation.
Greg?
I'd go with your version.
Josh?
I think I'm just gonna vote against, including any of that,
Any
other than the last
Other
little
than,
bit about the details of incentives and so forth.
just in your head where that was. All right, and Scott?
I'm okay with the changes you suggest.
Okay. I think it sounds like of the options, and Megan, you said you're also, your preference is what you proposed, but you are okay with the alternative that I proposed?
Actually, in reflecting on, I really did try to keep characterization out, but I agree with where you're calling out where characterizing the situation came into my wording. So I'm actually more in agreement with your version, Brendan.
Okay, so I have something written up that I can give if there's a motion, but
Will you tell me what your version is again?
yes. So the starting sentence after line 68 would be several board members responded directly to Mr. Todd's comments regarding bonus density. Then following along on the page we have line 68, it's Megan began to respond to Mr. Todd, remove comment through Todd, that whole line, and replace it with comma at which time. Then the word rich, remove the word interrupted and, keep directed Megan to address all questions to the chair to avoid direct back and forth in the rest of that sentence. The next sentence beginning with Megan asked, keep that sentence up until public questions, change the period to a comma, remove it did not, and after acknowledging the chair, Megan, and replace that with comma, after which she, where was it, continued her response to Mr. Todd, and keep the remainder of those two sentences.
I don't think anything about that directed questions to the chair, avoid direct back and forth. Megan asked whether direct applied equally, any of that just does not belong in minutes. I'm sorry, it's happened and I think we have to endeavor to make sure it doesn't. But it's just not a posterity thing for, I'm sure these things have happened 50 years ago and 25 years ago from time to time, and that's regrettable, but I just don't think it's something that belongs in the minutes.
Well, just as a matter of just like a note on actual process and procedure that we should all know, and that someone as a vice chair or an acting chair should know, that members of the board are free to speak to the public in public meeting. This was not during a hearing, and our bylaws provide a rule on addressing questions to the chair if you are a member of the public during a hearing, so that the public is not interacting directly with an applicant. But what he was demanding of me is actually nothing, and I am free to speak to the public in a public hearing. He should know that. We should all know that. That's a free speech issue.
And Megan, I'm hoping just before there's any response that we should be discussing the minutes and how we are recording the January 27th meeting, and not whether we agree with something that happened at the January 27th meeting. So if I could direct us back to that proposal, is there a motion to amend the minutes based on my changes to that line 68 insert? And if not, we can see if there's any other motions to amend the minutes in any other way.
My general feeling is that if somebody feels strongly enough about a interaction or statement that they were directly involved in to request an edit to the minutes, that we have a responsibility to take that seriously.
Do we have a responsibility, what?
To take that seriously And I would like to make a motion that we accept the edits per the recently read out Brendan version.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Alright. Any further discussion on the motion to amend the line 68 insertion? All in favor of the proposed amendment to the minutes, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
And one abstention, okay, 1, 2, 3, so 4, 1, 1. I'll provide a copy of this language
Thank
afterwards so you can work off the document. Megan, the one other one that we didn't vote on, but the line 65 change, which to me the biggest substantive change is removing your name from, Rich and Greg made the point. Other than that, that seemed largely the same to me. I didn't have any concerns when I listened to the recording.
Yeah, it was just an accuracy thing. I wasn't speaking at that point. I didn't speak until this interaction that we were just discussing. So it says that we were making this point about density bonuses, but I was not involved in that until later in the conversation when.
I'm fine with that proposed change, at least personally, so if others are, I'd happy to take a motion to make that change to line 65.
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Alright, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, now that we've done the two amendments, take a motion to approve the January 27th minutes as amended.
I'll move to approve the January 27 minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, next up is me finding my agenda.
February 10th meeting
Alright,
minutes, I believe.
February 10th draft meeting minutes. My understanding is there were no substantive suggestions to those minute meetings, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Perfect. So I'd look for a motion to approve those draft meeting minutes,
And this is for what date?
February 10, 2026.
Oh, I'll move that.
Alright, is there a second?
Also,
Any discussion on the February 10th draft meeting minutes? Alright, all in favor?
aye.
All opposed? Now we're moving along. Alright, next is the public hearing on the subdivision application for map 228, lot 11, 115 Asby Road. Applicant Jim and Sue Snyder.
Pardon me, I'm so sorry, Chair. I'm going to excuse myself for the reasons I had messaged you about. So I'm gonna step out.
Alright, do you mind just making a note in the minutes that at this point Megan left the meeting? Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alright,
Megan in the conference?
she's a scheduling
Oh.
conflict. Before we get any further on the public hearing piece, Logan, you have to be
I have
accused
an
for
obvious
multiple
number
threats
of
of other
conflicts, yes.
conflicts. You can stick with the abutter conflicts.
Is,
Local and genetic abundance,
is
yeah.
familial a cause for recusal? I know a butter is, I don't think I've ever addressed whether
Direct
family members.
family can be, and there's probably a point at which you're far enough along that it doesn't. It gets squishy in there, and the good news is we don't have to figure that question out,
Yeah.
because they are a butter, so, just make note that Logan has
I'm officially
recused
recused
himself.
from voting on this issue.
Alright,
See if I can stiffen this up a little. Scott, I might be help.
I would be glad to help, just tell me what you do.
You could just sort of person that in. I think it has to go up farther, yeah, like that. We might need a third person.
How do you operate this? Tell me what, do I just squeeze it?
there's a
I don't
joke
know.
here somewhere.
Yes.
There we go.
Say when.
Okay,
Maybe we really need to get ourselves a better.
what makes it stay?
I don't know.
Large format display.
Oh,
What's
right,
to do with this thing?
you think so?
I've seen the back of the board, it was like,
I think it's the wall.
formerly, it was probably do an inch.
Wait, I think it's staying.
It's gonna be good.
How about?
That's probably.
That might work.
I would bet that it was.
Right here.
You want us to hold it up? We can just hold it for, let it go a little bit.
Do we have a fifth?
Hopefully that'll work.
Look at us.
Cool. There must be some trick to this that I'm not getting.
Don't worry, it makes sense.
Anyway,
Let's just move on.
So, before you get to the subsets, there were, I'll call it one waiver request related to delineation of wetlands on the parent parcel. Can you address that piece and then we can take a vote on accepting the application as complete?
Okay, but before I do that, I have 3 brief comments. First, I wanted to say Michelle's doing a great job. Very, very good interaction with the applicant.
Please make sure
I
that
assume that
makes
she's
it
doing that for others as well. Secondly, I want to apologize for any confusion that I may have raised about the Canterbury rectangle. So this was different for me because you guys have made a lot of changes since I was in a year and a half ago or whatever. And somehow I had it in my head that you had journaled everything over into this new land use regulations document. And I searched and searched and I couldn't find the rectangle. I said, well, somehow the rectangle went away. And then when I was looking for something else, I found the rectangle, called the surveyor and said, get the rectangle on the plan.
Well, you're right that it should be in the regulations.
Yeah, I wasn't, those are your words, not mine, but I don't think that's a bad idea. The third thing is, and I know I sent along an email and you may all have seen it, but I had an alarming scam effort. Someone took all the public documents off of our website and cobbled it together into a very nice request for additional funds. Also saying that the board was looking very favorably on my application and all I had to do was cover this $3,800 in expenses. It was, I'm pretty good at sniffing these things out. It was good enough to give me pause until I went and actually looked at the bill. If it had been a bill for $400, I would have said, wait, I'm gonna complain about that. But when I saw $3,800, I knew it was a scam. It was actually nicely signed by you also, Brendan. So, as much as I would like to do something about people who act like this, I'm told by people who know that there's really not much you can do except be smart.
Well, there's that, but Ken, maybe we can talk after just as a, if we know that at least one has happened, alerting applicants for at least the next foreseeable amount of time.
Okay, so how do you want these paper copies in front of you or?
But you asked for the waiver information.
Or is it,
Well,
you want to deal with the other things first?
let's deal with
Okay.
the waiver piece, and to the extent we need to see it for purposes of waiver, that's fine, but I just want to address that piece so we can take a vote on completeness, and then we can move to the subdivision.
I also requested expedited review. I don't really need expedited review. I kind of did that as a courtesy in case you guys wanted to get it out, finished in one meeting.
Alright, so turning on the application piece, where was, I'm so confused, so,
Right here. Wetlands on the parent parcel.
thank you, my notes, see, Josh is keeping me honest. Alright, so, from the application, where I see it's a 44-acre parcel, there's 2 proposed lots post subdivision. One would be 37.5, which would have the existing residence, and existing driveway to the existing residence, and the new one would be about 6.5 acres. And so the waiver request is to delineate wetlands only on the newly created lot, the lot that would eventually need a one-family residence if it gets sold and someone wants to build and would need a driveway. But to not delineate on the existing 37.5 or proposed 37.5 lot that includes the existing residence, because you already have a residence, you already have a driveway, so there's not any proposed construction which wetlands would impact. So that's my understanding of the request. Did I miss anything?
No, I would just say that I know how much it costs to have less than a half an acre delineated on the new piece. The remaining piece has a 4-acre kind of a marsh right in the middle of it, and a couple of streams feeding into it and a main stream feeding out of it. I think it would cost almost as much as the lot is worth to delineate wetlands on that piece. And I realize it's important, but it would be easy to show that the required 3 acres of upland is well exceeded on that lot. And if the board wishes to do a site visit, I'd be happy to do that.
Right, so speaking for the board, and call me out if I'm saying it wrong, we have tried with past applications to be cognizant of that balance. That wetland delineation is expensive, it needs to happen where there is going to be proposed construction or proposed driveways so that we can make sure we're doing our due diligence. But there are often portions where back acreage or other portions that aren't proposed to be developed don't need to be delineated. So I personally, and jump in, I have no problem with that proposed waiver request with, except there's one question that I wanted to ask, which in the materials that we received is a letter from Cooper, what's his last name?
It's the wetland scientist.
Yeah,
I think I have it on my
Cooper
clipboard.
stock, maybe. And it said, see attached sketch. And there was a sketch, but there's also on your map here, or in the northeast, in the north, or in the
This one
southeast,
here,
there's
and
2
one
delineated wetlands. So my question for you is,
Neither of those.
for those 2, were those delineated by the wetland scientist?
Yes.
And we have the letter, but is there a stamp on this plan from that wetland
I
scientist?
think,
Is
There
that
is-
picture the whole 37, the whole 44 acres, or just the 6 acres that you're,
this insert shows
I get it now.
the entire lot. This is just the lot to be
And
subdivided.
those wetlands, those 2 wetlands on the top right and the bottom right, were delineated by the wetland scientist.
Yes. I think the answer to your question, Brendan, is no, and it should be. And
But for purposes of the application, you have a plan that has delineated wetlands, and we may need to just follow up as far as getting.
I think what happened here is I called them up and I said, oh, we need that stamp on there. And they were trying to put everything together quickly to get it to you in the 21-day window. And he said, well, I'll send the certification along. That would be cause, I suppose, for for not accepting or continuing the hearing or doing it as a condition of final approval.
Yeah, so from my perspective, we have a plan, which we will need to rule, that has delineated wetlands, and your representation that those were delineated by the wetland scientist, and we have the wetland scientist letter. Certainly, as a condition, the plan would need to ultimately be stamped by that certified wetland scientist, but I don't have any problem accepting this application with what we have, so that we can discuss it tonight.
Yeah.
Any concerns from the other 3
Makes sense.
board members?
That makes sense.
Alright, could I get a motion to accept, well, we'll start with a motion to grant the waiver. We'll just take that individually.
I'll move to grant the waiver on the wetlands delineation on the parent parcel.
Yeah.
All in favor of that motion?
I need a second.
Alright, Josh second.
Just,
Alright,
Ricky,
and then I take a motion to accept the application as complete.
I'll move to accept the application, we have to identify it, what's the address?
115, Hillsborough.
115 Mansley Road, as complete.
Is there a second?
second.
Alright, during the discussion piece on that motion, I'll add, I did go through the checklist. It looked like all the information that we need to act on the application is in there in terms of the minimum requirements, so I have no concern with the other application criteria. Any other discussion on the motion to accept the application as complete? Alright, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Alright. Now, Mr. Snyder, the floor is yours to describe in detail the substance of the proposed subdivision.
Does anyone want paper in front of them?
I'm good relying on
Me too.
the document that you have up there,
Yeah, I can see it, okay, from here too.
but if I have questions,
These were expensive.
I'll come over.
Oh, now I need to see it badly.
So our intent here was, we've used this field, this is, the whole thing is a field. It used to be an orchard many, many years ago. And there's, in some of the histories, there's pictures of it still dotted with apple trees. We've been pasturing horses there for years, but as the number of horses dwindles, we're thinking that at some point, we won't really need that field anymore. And it's a wonderful place to build a house. So we decided to subdivide it now for two reasons. One, we have friends that might want to build there, but that's kind of not definite at this point. And the other is that, you know, if we find ourselves doddering old fools 5 or 6 years from now and need money to survive, I don't want to be coming into the planning board drooling or anything. So I figured I'll do it now while I'm still somewhat able to present an argument. As to where the boundaries of the field are, I remember when I came in for conceptual consultation, there was a question about the kind of wide alley that we left between the lot that we subdivided a year and a half ago and Mudgett Hill Road. And you know, if all you're doing is looking at the paper, I agree, it seems a little odd. And I don't know that it makes Lot 11 any less uniformly shaped than it is. It's kind of stuck with what it is. But that's a woods that we tapped for maple syrup for 15 or 20 years, and it's a really nice woods that we wanted to retain. If we had wanted to, I think there's enough frontage there that we could have put 3 lots along Mudgett Hill Road and Asby Road, but
Can you walk us through, if we're using the locus, where the current access to the larger parcel is on Asby or Mudgett Hill? So the remainder, the 37.5, where's the current driveway?
right about here. That's our barn. There's 2 barns here. For some reason, our house doesn't show up on here. I don't know.
And so, do you know how much frontage would that parcel retain on that road?
This parcel,
Yes.
A lot more than 300.
yeah,
I'm just trying to get a sense, I'm hoping that's the answer.
Yeah, I'll bet it's 1,000.
well, let's see.
So, I mean, for comparison, lot 10 is my lot, right?
This is all
Map 227, lot 10. In the top right
Yes.
corner, so
So,
That has to have-
apologize, Lou, when you're recused, I think there is some case law that if you participate in discussion,
you want me to
that could be
totally
basis.
shut, okay.
So I will come to you in the public comment period if you have any public comment.
Just trying to help.
No, I'm sorry.
If you want a really
Not allowed to
private
help.
official, go over there.
You know, this is more than 300 feet here, I believe. So this is probably closer to 500, maybe even 600.
And there also is frontage, is that as
About
it's coming around
100
the
or
corner,
150 feet
that
here.
you're retaining frontage
Yeah.
on the other road as well?
And your sugar bush is between those two, the two,
Yeah, well, part of it, there's very old maple trees in there.
Right
It's
in there.
beautiful little woods. You know, at some future point, the owner of this land might say to one of these people, you know, maybe you wanna connect those and you can even do a lot line adjustment, something like that, but I don't think that would ever be the current owners.
And what class is that road? Is it, do you know, class 5, class 6?
Class 5 road.
Class 5 road. Alright, and we hit the acreage component, the
It's almost
Instead of
7, it
6.
turned out to be almost 7 acres.
almost 7 and about 37 and a half. Do you have a sense, because the plan didn't have a proposed driveway delineated, but it did have the existing field access? Sort of
Yeah, there's-
punched in driveway, for lack of a better phrase, to the north, like in the center?
I drive in and out of the field, I don't see it now, I know it's on there.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, there it is.
It's right, yeah.
Yeah, I drive in and out of the field there. There's also a break in the wall here, I think, that I have driven in and out of. It's narrower. But I think it's probably a driveway would make sense, probably either in this area or in this area. It's good,
Suffice to say,
sight lines.
there's 2 possible existing breaks in the rock wall where there could be a driveway, neither of which would impact those wetlands to the northeast and the southeast.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay. And, obviously it's a large regular parcel. In terms of septic and drilled well, with 6.5 acres, I don't have any concern with being able to site it where the wetlands are to the side. It's not like the other one where we had an issue with. Could you get a driveway in and still have access to a well? But do we need anything further in terms of ability to put the septic in well?
So, I think it's a big lot.
The rectangle there is probably showing where it's gonna be, right?
Well, that's my thought, is that because it's a regular lot and you only have wetlands in the corners, this isn't an issue where we're worried about being able to squeeze a dwelling and a septic and a well without impacting the wetlands.
So I think you're going to whether we're asking him to put a driveway and a proposed house location on the plat.
And I don't think we need to based on this,
I
which is
agree
where
with
I'm
you.
going,
I
yes.
agree with you.
This is
Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're going on this, but with all due respect, that's kind of beyond the scope. If I just wanted to call this a woodlot, I could subdivide it.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is we recently had an application where just due to where the wetlands were located, there was concern that you could have a building envelope and septic and well, without impacting wetland. And my point, is what I'm trying to make on the record, is this is not a parcel like that where there's a wetland that's severely limiting what portion of the 6.5
This
acres
is
you
a
could use.
gently sloped, you know, regular lot, no, those were like really steep and, lots of wetlands. They're really different.
Exactly, okay, so we're all on the same page. Any questions, like, before deliberation and for public comment from the board members related to any of the other subdivision criteria or minimum lot dimensions?
We often address the contour line issue because we're often asked for, the applicant often asks to put fewer contour lines on the drawing than our regulations say, right? What are your contour separations?
These are 2-foot contours. It's so easy to
Yes.
do now with
Yeah,
the
with the
LiDAR
LiDAR.
program. If you wanted 8-inch contours, I could probably get them to do it.
I think 2 foot is what we ask for, and very often we will give people 10 foot or something, because it messes up the drawing.
Yeah, I talked to the registry because some surveyors don't like to put the contours on. They want to put it on a separate sheet and give you the separate sheet, but not put it on the one that's getting recorded.
Right.
But I talked to the registry and they said, as long as it's, I'm not sure what the term is, in the background, so that wherever it comes upon text, it ends and the text isn't, no text gets interrupted by by a contour line. They're fine with it.
Any other questions for the applicant? Scott, Joshua? Alright, at this time, I'm gonna open up public comments.
I think I'm in public.
Yes. Alright, any other public comments?
No, sir.
Alright, any further questions for the applicant before we start deliberation? I don't expect any, alright. So my one other question that I want to sort of tie up and discuss with the board is whether there are two lots being created from one lot. And we have a clear plan which is gonna have all the boundaries for the 6.5 acre lot, but whether we need a plan showing the other lot, so that in the registry, like if you're following down, you have this plan that shows this lot, are they just inferring from prior dimensions of the parent parcel minus the dimensions of this, or does it make sense?
It's been a long
It's gonna be
time
a lot
since I did
cleaner.
registry searches, but I think you would find both if you did the backwards and forwards.
You would find both, but the alternative in terms of there could be a single plan that shows both, which is typically what we see is, here's a plan of the total parent parcel, here's the two lots now, here's where we're creating the boundary, and then that plan being recorded shows you both lots. And I think with this plan, we wouldn't have that second half,
And the locus is pretty big. I don't know if this is a rule or whatever, but if it's necessary for a waiver, it probably deserves one, but I don't think this poses any problem from a registry point of view. I don't think.
mutation.
I don't know, I've never addressed this issue, that problem. Actually, I recall that on the Wyven Road subdivision was similar, not showing the entire parent property. But, no question.
Just as
Happy
a
to
comment,
answer.
I think it's largely a matter of scale, that in order to show both of them, well, I don't know, I guess you could show both of them on a full sheet.
Yeah, well, that's sort of where I'm going. I don't know that we necessarily need, right, a full survey of the remaining parcel as much as a plan that shows where the new parcel is being created out of the existing one. So
It's
you
right
would-
there, in the bottom
Well,
left.
in terms of the locus, but for example, we don't have the frontage shown to scale on a plan for the remaining parcel. Yes, but I have no doubt that it will comply. And I'm just trying to make sure we're not, and not necessarily for this one, because I don't really have concerns, but as far as setting precedent to have partial plans when we're creating multiple lots. That's where I'm coming from, and I don't know what we've necessarily done in the past. I think certainly this year, the recent ones we've had, they've all been plans that show both.
Right.
Or 3 proposed lots.
I do recall the Wyven Road one did not show the
I
entire.
think this has sufficient information that I got no concern.
I think the problem that would raise for me would be, I think the surveyor is gonna say, if you want me to show that, I can't show it unless it's a full-blown survey of that piece. And a deed exists for that piece, which does show the frontages.
Yeah, I don't think this is necessary to do anything further.
I'm not sold one way or the other.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
trying to figure
understand the argument.
Ultimately, you're the owner of a parcel that wouldn't have a sort of current signed subdivision plan that shows your own newly created parcel.
Well,
That makes sense. Like, portions of it are shown, certainly the new boundaries are shown, and I don't have any doubt that
You
a
know-
surveyor could take those marks and
Created.
in the future create a survey of the larger parcel.
so I'm looking at what the last guy did, Bailey. who I had a lot of issues with, but I think he did do some things well. Where he showed the remaining lot, he also called it out as the remainder, the number of square feet, and the number of acres. And that isn't done here, and I think maybe it should be. And that may not totally satisfy your reserve, but
I think this is adequate, because I don't think there's any doubts about it, all that stuff. But the road frontage would be seems like the biggest issue, because there's no definite number, but you can subtract pretty straightforwardly and derive the existing lot frontage.
So, can I ask you this, whether you think it would be a lot, if you had your surveyor, not necessarily provide like a stamp plan, but to depict to the south, a, remainder road frontage number, and to the north with like an
you
arrow.
mean this one?
Yeah, so it could be there, it could be in a note that refers to, parcel, and I forget which one's A or B, or what were they designated as? My eyesight's out.
Lot 11,
Lot 11.
proposed lot, which will probably be
So
11.2.
post subdivision lot 11 frontage on, as B is,
I don't think you can do that without surveying.
I think you're right.
is the prior plan or prior subdivision, the next most recent chronological plan for your property, did that have a plan that depicted frontage?
You mean for the 11.1 subdivision?
No, for the 11.
Just before we got to this, so your current parcel, not counting this subdivision, the last time it was subdivided, was there a plan that shows your total frontage?
No,
See what I'm saying? Like something that we could work off of as a reference for,
no, I think the only way to get it is off the deed, or, I mean, you could generate an estimated frontage, using any number of tools that wouldn't be surveyed, but would show that it exceeded by double the required amount.
If there was
I
a
would be
question whether
good.
this was 310 feet, then it would be, I think your point is good,
Right,
but
so-
there's no question.
and teasing that out, I think maybe your surveyor should say not, I have surveyed and the frontage is X, but from the property boundaries dimensions, excluding the frontage that is going to 11, I keep forgetting, 0.2, the frontage on this road would exceed,
Just exceed.
300 and, something to that effect, so that there could be a note on the plan for your surveyor that just, even if it's estimated from the property boundaries, that the remaining parcel,
I think they probably have software that they could get it within an error of 1% without surveying.
And just a note that it exceeds the required minimum, seems like it would satisfy.
that's where I'm going. And
I should make
that
some
could be
notes.
a condition, and we'll circle back.
Here's the pen, Jim.
It'll appear in the minutes.
So,
Well, we're gonna summarize at the end all the things that, well, so far, we have wetland
stamp.
scientist
yes,
stamp. And estimated
The frontage statement.
remaining frontage.
and
You
third
don't
one,
have to estimate it, you just have to know that it exceeds. Which is probably simpler.
if you can, my preference, if it can be easily done, is the number estimated frontage is X. If it cannot be easily done, I think exceeds is probably acceptable. And then the third one, we only touched on briefly, but just confirming on the plan, remaining acreage, even if it's estimated remaining acreage, like, you know, within a tolerance not surveyed, but that the plan shows how many acres are going to be left as lot 11.
Okay.
And that would hit the two big dimensional requirements in the zoning ordinance to make sure that they are covered in more detail on the plan. Happy to get a sense of the board. I'm happy for those to be conditions and not a continuance, where it's an approval conditioned on those three things being added to the plan. And then they would have to come back and check those conditions and sign off on it without having to do a whole other meeting.
Yep, makes sense, makes sense for me.
My only I don't really have any of those concerns. My concern is the irregular lot shape, but I think the reason that the applicant has given for that issue is pretty compelling, so.
Yes, and to add on that, it started as an irregular shape, and the smaller parcel that is being taken out of that irregular shape is regular.
Yeah.
So you are not creating two irregular lots.
Yes.
You are left with still one irregular lot, but have created one regular lot. Okay. I'll open up one more time to public comment just in case, then I'll ask for a vote on conditional approval. So any further comment for the public? Alright, is there a motion to approve the subdivision of map 228 lot 11, 115 Asby Road, subject to 3 conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Alright, any further discussion on the motion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright,
Thank you.
thank you very much for your time.
Do you want paper? We used to keep paper.
We do we currently have in the file a paper copy? And if no, yes, I think we would like a copy for the
Just
town's
one?
file. Just one is
The
probably fine.
expensive one.
The question came up, are we still using Mylars for recording?
To my knowledge, but I don't have to physically do it, so I'm not.
The surveyor said he thinks they're accepting other media, and the RSA doesn't specifically refer to Mylar. A Mylar costs $50. Since I have to take it to Loudon and get them to leave it with them to get them to sign it, and bring it back to you and get you to sign it, and then get it to the registry, I'm happy to spend the $50 on the Mylar, unless you don't want it.
I think we have been requesting Mylar, and we haven't approved anything, to my knowledge, that didn't require a Mylar to be recorded.
Isn't that
Right.
is it the registry that requires Mylar? Who
It's
requires that?
It's just
I think
kind of
it's
been
practice,
practice, yeah.
but I don't have personal knowledge as to what the registry requires.
I mean, they may just be scanning it these days and it doesn't matter.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Cardboard.
They usually, to my knowledge, they still keep the original recorded document. And that's their way around the right to know law for access to their expensive database. If you go in person, they can show you the physical copy. Publicly accessible after. Alright.
Real estate.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to be back in the planning board again. I had to restrain myself from not voting on the minutes.
Well, you're welcome back.
I tried. He refuses to rejoin us.
Recording, last time for some reason, and I can't remember what it was, I took it down and recorded it, but you guys are taking them, right?
Yep.
The question, what was the question?
Who is
I already
who is
talked to
actually
Michelle.
recording the Mylar? Are we recording it after they bring it and we sign it, or do we sign it and then have the applicant record it?
I have been taking them, it's up to you if you wanna.
I'm happy to have you do it.
One
Alright,
I've
we'll
only
stick
done
with whatever we've been doing, so that's good, thank you.
Mylars or. with the frosties, I don't know, I might want.
Oh my God. I thought I left way too early to get here until I started driving across Baptist Road.
20
miles an hour. That's terrible. Better than spending money on the road.
If it helps, it's 132 is also terrible, and it was only paved like 2 years ago, and it's a state road, so like,
Yeah, Baptist was repaved not that long ago, Shaker was repaved not terribly long ago.
I'm totally good with it.
Terrible.
I'm saying if it's terrible, the state's also terrible.
Good night, Jim.
And I thank you guys.
Good night, Jim.
You don't like it?
Alright, Nicola, you're up next.
That's true, yeah.
Alright, next up is Hildreth Farm, West Road Conditions Review.
Are these two things identical? Or do I just have copies?
They're the same, there was probably just, they were putting one of each.
Got it.
They gave you two, because I only have one.
I need to
Let me
other documents.
move some of my stuff out of the way so I can better find documents. So we received the Hildreth Farms proposed condominium unit owners association documents and the declaration that goes with those. Michelle, you have an extra paper copy if anyone needs it.
Does anybody want?
Anyone want, Josh, you want the paper copy of the condo docs, or do you?
Well, I wanna talk about it.
Yeah, I was
I don't
implying
think
that we have a copy, so.
Yeah, I'll have a copy of it.
And then we have a February 24th letter from Meridian that has a response to each of the conditions that we have required
Thank you very
on the
much.
CUP. And Ken is here to the extent we have questions related to AOT permits or legal review of the condo documents. Am I missing anything? Those are the two big ones. Alright, so that's sort of oriented in terms of what we have and who's here. And then I think as a starting point, we just start having Nicola walk through the response to the conditions, and one by one we can identify if we have follow-up or if we have any questions. Does that work for you?
Yeah,
Alright,
Nicola and Stacey, thank you throughout the meetings over the past probably year or so. To start, we can look through the conditions of approval list. The condo docs were submitted February 4th for town review, and I believe we got notice back today regarding the condo docs, so if there are changes that need to be made, I think that's gonna be discussed tonight.
What did you get notice of?
That it was town council
The
got
town attorneys reviewed them and emailed me their reply, and I got it yesterday.
Right.
And did that review,
I think
I have a lot of questions about what that review consisted of, and I don't know if it's appropriate time to talk about it.
And I'm not sure when you wanna get into that.
so the first
I think if you start down through the,
three all deal with the condo documents, and that's as good a time as any.
okay.
Alright.
I guess, the questions that came up were on, let's see. Starting at number 3, the conditions of number 3, association must maintain designated open space, including at least annual mowing, haying of the open space area. And the answer is acknowledged, see previously provided condominium documents. I guess what I would like to see, I guess my question for the applicant is, can you tell me where that's pointed out in the condo docs?
Right, yeah, I think it's something that can be added.
I really didn't see it, the attorneys didn't see it,
Right.
and I didn't see it. It talks about the AOT in here that requires, and following down through, B is maintain infiltration basins, which you talk about the AOT, but again, that's not called out in the condo docs anywhere.
Right.
The green print, is that the response from?
Those are the responses from Meridian.
I think
From
that's
Meridian,
from
yes,
Sam
correct.
Foyt's email.
Not the lawyer that made the condo docs.
So,
So we don't have any, we don't have any, we don't have the, I don't know where to start this. I feel like there's at the high, you know, sort of biggest level, there's a two-step process. One is to go through all our minutes and determine what we recommended need to be or ordered need to be in the condominium documents.
so that,
And make a list of that, and then there's someone with condominium document experience, a lawyer, I guess, to go through and make sure the condominium documents check off each of those issues, and I don't have a very good idea of either one of those. And this
Yeah,
doesn't
so-
seem to answer that question.
well, to that point, Joshua, I think there's sort of two things that happen. One is they will need condominium document approval from the state. And that
Yeah,
really
but
relates to the Condominium Act,
Yeah,
and that's not gonna hit our conditions.
exactly.
And so the focus of town council's review is to make sure our conditions, and that was this document, our notice of decision approval, that those are all included, so that each of these that referred to something that condo docs needed to have, that's what Attorney Courtney was looking for.
Well, I don't know if there's more, but during the deliberations, I feel like Meridian made commitments about what would be in the condominium documents that may or may not be in the notice of decision. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like we had, that may be true, that there may be, they made commitments about what they're gonna put in the condominium documents. And that seems to me would be a review of the minutes rather than just the notice of decision.
So, I think it is possible, we had a lot of hearings, so I'm not gonna say there's no possibility. I do recall that we had a long discussion when we walked through each of these conditions and had an opportunity to say, you know, are we missing anything? And I didn't recall anything then, I don't recall anyone else flagging any other, so I think the conditions that we listed in our notice of decision, those are,
Well, the one I can think of that isn't in here, I think, is the existence of the gun club across the road. So that residents who move in here can't complain about it later. And I feel like there was a second one,
alright,
I made, this group of them probably is included. And I think I read the condominium document, maybe I satisfied myself, but the issue is whether the residential occupants can veto what the commercial occupants can do, and I think the condominium documents are pretty, I think I'm satisfied of that, but I'd really like to hear directly from the lawyer to tell me that that's really the case, because because this is a commercial zone, the commercial uses have to be carefully protected from sort of a future NIMBY problem. So,
That was definitely discussed.
pardon me?
We definitely discussed that.
Yeah, and whether the condominium documents are adequate for that, you know, I gotta, you know, have some expertise in condominium, but not enough to know. And I don't see anything in any of these documents about the gun club.
any problem on your end as we're working through, if there was a request to add that specifically to the documents, and the language I think is somewhat flexible at this point, but something to the effect of acknowledge that the abutting parcel, and you'd have to fill in whatever the tax map and lot number is a pre-existing or has pre-existing use as a gun club. I forget however they would describe themselves.
If you find that the condo docs need to be revised, right, and that it can't be finalized at this meeting, then if they're gonna be revised, they might as
Yeah, I
well be
think
revised how you want them.
I think there's some other things we're gonna talk about,
Yeah.
but it just trying to flag at a high level,
Right.
you have no problem here adding
Right,
something
yeah.
to that effect
I
that
think, Attorney Lano at the meeting acknowledged that there is a gun club and put it on record that we acknowledge that there is a gun club, which I think he thought would suffice. If you find that, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal to add it, yeah.
Legally, I think it would suffice, but the
Legally,
request
it
and just making sure
suffices,
that
but
we have residents coming into town and making sure that they're not always,
Yeah,
you know, able to go back and see all of our minutes and all the conditions and
Right.
that it's in their face, so that when they buy the property, they know it's there and then they're happy and they're not bothered by it, as opposed to thinking that it's not.
yeah.
Okay. So, while we're on the condo piece, so, page 17 of the bylaws. And this is the section on maintenance.
Yep.
And there's a by the unit owner, which refers to the individual lots, and then there's a by the association. Says the association shall be responsible for maintaining the common areas, including without limitation. So that, I think, is the part where the three sections in our conditions, that to me would make the most sense to add them where they're expressly there, which is the association shall be responsible for maintaining the common areas with the colon, say it's E, where are we at, F, maintaining designated open space to include at least annual mowing or haying of the open space area. Add a little g, maintaining infiltration basins in accordance with reasonable current best practices, is the language from the condition, and the NHDES AOT permit, which is what Sam flagged in his narrative.
yeah,
And then
so add that.
little h, maintaining the existing tree buffer along the access road to commercial 2 and commercial 3, except as necessary to improve and maintain that access road.
Right.
So I don't think there needs to be any tweaks to the language of those three conditions from our notice of decision approval.
Just add it.
Is that where the physical barrier between the roadway and the?
So that's
That's different,
spaces?
we haven't gotten to that piece yet. So this would be, as I'm counting down on the notice of decision approval, 1, 2, 3. The condominium documents must include the following requirements. The second piece from what Ken flagged is, where is it? Legal instruments preserving designated open space in perpetuity must be recorded before site work begins. And the response from Sam is, see the condominium documents. I
50
didn't-
pages.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on it, I think the condominium documents can acknowledge that there is open space that has been preserved, but there should be some separate legal instrument. And so I don't know if you have a response from Attorney Lano, or it's something that you can ask him, but
Yeah,
to
I can speak with that.
prepare a conveyance so that something would be recorded that says this area
Right.
is, pursuant to this subdivision application approval, must be preserved as designated open space in perpetuity.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll just put fair follow-up with Attorney Lano. And if he believes that something can go in the bylaws on its own that does that, if we get a letter that explains his legal opinion, if he thinks it needs to be something separate, a letter that says we can do this, and then we'll add a acknowledgement into the bylaws that refers to whatever that document would be.
We'd kind of be looking for something like what Sam did from.
Yes, but just like as an
Yeah.
attorney letter of
Right, right.
here's what is required and
Right.
here's what the document is.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but the declaration and bylaws, there's a hierarchy of them. And I think the declaration is the higher of the hierarchy, am I right about that? And bylaws can be amended by the members, but a declaration cannot. And I think that's the case. And something as important as what you were just talking about, the set aside for the, should probably be in the declaration and not just the bylaw. If
So,
I'm right about the hierarchy.
well, it could be maybe another way to address that if it's in the bylaws, which I think that's the spot that makes sense where they would know they have this obligation, but to flag that it is not something they can amend, you could have like after each of these a comma, which is required by the town of Canterbury subdivision approval. And
Is there a problem putting it in the declaration?
well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But I also, my experience is that the thing people go to for how they're running, what the board of directors would be looking at more often is the bylaws.
But the the attorney general will be looking at the declaration.
They look at both, I think.
Oh,
And, but they won't care, the attorney general will not care about maintaining designated open space. Because that's not something that's gonna be contrary to the condominium act.
that's true.
And that's why I think Attorney Courtney looked at, for these requirements.
Well, if it's gonna go in the bylaws, maybe that's an adequate solution is to do what you just said is to keep on referencing it over and over as required by the town of Canterbury approval.
Yes, okay. Do we, Michelle, do we use docket numbers, like when someone is going back in time to find, it's not like a 2025 number X? So we would add the date probably as required by town of Canterbury
Oh, right,
planning board
November 4th, 2025.
subdivision. And
Oh.
Dory, I'll give you a copy of this after, so you have this
I
discussion.
don't know if it's dated your date or the.
Real quick, in the declaration, on number 4, it says amendment to the declaration. And it says the declaration and the bylaws may be amended by an instrument in writing, so on and so forth, and must be agreed on by 2/3 vote of the unit owners. So the declaration and the bylaws can both be amended by the owners according to the declaration here.
So regardless of whether they ultimately amend the bylaws, which.
Yeah, I'm just responding to Josh's
I'm not
concern.
sure that's actually legal. I mean, I don't know.
So it's been a while since I did condo law, I think there's a different provision about how to be amended, but the difference is like the bylaws maybe is majority, but the declaration requires unanimity or something to
Or
that.
something, but not 2/3.
I think that's maybe the distinction, but it's been a long time since I
Me
looked
too.
at, was it 456 feet or whatever? No, that's wrong. Anyway,
But these are
We can-
conditions.
they are conditions, no matter what they do to amend their bylaws or declaration, they can never remove the actual condition. And adding the language as required by town of Canterbury Planning Board flags for them that this is a requirement that comes from the town and is still gonna exist, so I think,
Maybe one solution is to require that the approval be a part of the bylaws as an amendment to the bylaws, or a appendix or whatever. And that way it's can't be mistook.
I guess as an appendix or like an addendum,
Attachment,
what is this,
attachment
exhibit
A or
C
whatever.
is
Exhibits, yeah.
the bylaws, so whatever is an exhibit. Fine. I'm probably fine with either approach. But I think the message should be that one way or another, whether it's addending the notice of decision or changing, or both, or changing on page 17, by the association maintenance requirements to explicitly call out these 3 conditions.
Actually, the more I think about it, this really should be a part of one or both of these documents. The approval should be a part of the declaration or the bylaws or both, so that when somebody in the future is going back and looking, this isn't hard to find, they don't have to go to the town records, it's in the bylaws that came with their deed to the condominium.
I agree with that. Any problem with suggesting both, so that the maintenance requirements in here list what they need to maintain,
Yeah, I'm good
and
with
then
that.
asking that they also
Yeah.
append the notice of decision.
Yeah.
to the bylaws, yeah, does that work? That'll be our request, I mean, subject to, any response. Okay. So we, 1, 2, 3. So just make sure we didn't lose track, so number 1 was, you were going to touch base with Attorney Lano on the designated open space legal instruments. Number 3, we just discussed. Alright, number 4. Start us off there and we'll get through the rest of these.
Either read this or.
To the extent we can knock off any conditions as completed, that'll help narrow the issues for the
Right.
future.
So on page 8 or sheet 8 of the plan, phase 1. This phase consists of constructing the phase 1 portion of the main access road, loop road, community water system, phase 1 stormwater improvements. These improvements will support the construction of 26 residential units. In addition to the master infrastructure described, this phase includes preparing the front commercial lot by grading a flat building pad and stubbing a water service and stormwater connection to the lot. The front commercial lot has an allowance of 70% impervious coverage to comply with the stormwater design.
Okay. So the phasing notes have been updated to include what we requested, which is the commercial site 1 and the gravel road are prepared in phase 1. Any issues with how they address that in the phase notes?
And the, which is COM 1, COM 2, and COM 3 is.
Com 1 is up here?
Well, I know where it is,
Oh,
but
sorry.
I'm just making sure that somebody in the future isn't confused by it.
Yeah, I believe when I looked, they are, where is it?
Yeah, so on the Mylar here, I mean, it's labeled as COM 1, COM 2, and COM 3, which is just what we recorded.
And the condo docs, to your point, Josh, I also checked, they also
They also do.
use the designation of commercial 1, commercial 2, commercial 3.
Okay.
Okay. So good with, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, condition 4, alright, number 5, alright.
And then if you go to sheet 2, if you have the plan, you'll notice that there isn't a note 28 anymore.
Okay.
So, general note, go 1 through 27 now.
Glad that so many months have passed that I no longer remember what note 28 even was, but it is gone.
Yeah.
Alright.
Or remember.
Alright, number 6.
Right, and then if we go to sheet 18.
These aren't numbered.
They're bottom right corner, really tiny.
Small,
Oh,
very
I see.
small. Yeah, there's like 2 different.
Right, yeah, you'll see the stop sign is labeled as R1-1, under the traffic signs and general notes in the center bottom of the
Yeah.
page. And then if you go all the way back to sheet 11 now, you'll see where R1-1 is referenced. Back to 11. So it's referenced stop signs where you enter the subdivision across from I-93, stop signs R1-1.
Okay.
Um,
And then R2-1 at the first intersection.
Right, yeah, you see a 20-mile, this will cover a couple different things, but R2-1 at the intersection is a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, which is the speed limit imposed. North of that, you'll see the 4-foot wide designated walking area labeled and highlighted.
Yep.
On top of that, in the bottom of the abutting lot, kinda, I guess, opposite the fire lane, you'll see stop signs R1-1
Yep.
at the intersections once again.
Okay.
The circular, I guess, boulder-looking things surrounding the infiltration basins are labeled as boulder rocks, or equivalent physical barrier, as described. And then the split rail fence behind units 10, 11, and 12 is also located on the plan. So I think that covers more than just 6, but
Oh, that's right, well, and
6,
that's
7.
very helpful, so I'll walk us back just through 6 to make sure we
8,
miss. So, stop signs installed at the intersections of the loop road and the access road, those are the 3, so I think we're good there. Number 7, the residential loop road must have a 4-foot marked designated walking area to be posted at 20 mph or lower. Both of those, Nicola showed us the 20 mph sign, R2-1 and the highlighted walking area.
Where are the boulder rocks in in this document.
So that would be, number 9, is where the requirement for that was.
Can we change that to intermittent physical barrier as it's pictured? Because I think our concern at some point was that somebody can walk from the road down, and when it says physical barrier, I think of that as physical barrier.
So I believe
And
it
think
was
our
for
point was-
cars actually, for the safe, not for people to walk through.
Yeah,
But for, like, you don't wanna drive into it.
right, so it's
Cars from
designated
backing
right on
into
all
it
the
and
maps,
it's
but the
stuck.
language is overly restrictive.
So we can't change the condition.
Right.
I think the understanding of that condition was something that's passable. They are depicted on the plan as passable.
Yeah.
We could have them add the word intermittent on the plan above Boulder Rocks.
That's what I'm
If that would help.
And
You
one-
satisfy that?
Well, one thing that we discussed, in one of our meetings with the town was that the building inspector will be there to confirm that the plans are followed accordingly.
Yeah.
And I think that would be up to his discretion if we meet the requirement.
Maybe
think
it's
that's-
good enough the way it is Boulder Rocks, which is obvious, and or or equivalent,
Right.
probably that's good enough.
10, 11, 12, and then
Sorry, are these black dots the boulder rocks or
The
are these
gray,
the gray along the road?
the
Okay.
gray
along
ones
the
were
road.
Gotcha, thank you.
and there they are. And then the one piece on that, where was I? On 8, fences as specified on plan between residential units 10, 11, 12,
they're there.
and you just showed us, and then commercial units 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And is that on a separate sheet to just show them depicted for,
What sheet is that on?
I think, I'm looking right, 13 has them?
Yeah, so 13, you'll see the same split rail fence, although it isn't labeled, the legend for it and the marking is the same as the one where it is labeled. And obviously, the labeled version won't be the one that's submitted for final signature, it's the one with the legend. But yeah, the rocks are shown along the road that goes, the access road, and then the split rail fence surrounds all of phase 2B. It's got a circular, I guess, post with the line that shows the fence.
So, on 13, they're now darker dots, but you still see them for the
Right. And the darker
West-
dots now correspond to
north
the other
basin, the other basin,
have
the
dark
third
dots.
basin, and then the split rail dots is visible from both.
Correct.
I'm good with that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. So that's 8, 9 we talked about, which is the roadway and the 3 basins between pages 11 and 13. Alright, number 10, phase notes on sheet 8.
So yeah, must be amended to indicate that the items in phase 2A will be concurrent. Phase 2A describes the construction of a commercial site plan as described in response to condition number 4. The discussion at the planning board meeting was not to construct a commercial site plan on lot COM1, but to prepare the site to be pad ready with the goal to entice commercial users to develop the site. As such, the statement prepare lot COM1 pad and construct gravel roadway to lots COM2 and COM3 has been added to phase 1. So I think the idea with this is that it's kind of redundant, what we mentioned before. Commercial lot 1 will be prepped with additionally, all the utilities.
Oh, that's great, and then
Yeah.
you've got that last line, paragraph 4 on phase notes, phase 2A or phase 2B can occur in any order after phase 1 is constructed or concurrently with phase 1.
Correct. And that's, yeah.
Okay. These are complicated plans.
Any concerns on condition 10 as they've amended the plan? Good. No one, Josh, do you have any concerns with number 10?
No.
Sorry, I didn't hear either way.
I'm sorry.
But we have so much information, I just assumed you guys were reading
Yeah.
the notes to confirm.
Yeah.
We're just taking it down.
Moved on to 11.
Alright, number 11.
That looks good to me because there is the architectural note where it says it is.
Right, so, yeah, sheet two, it's the very last note before the legend. It says, while the condition is tied to the project via the notice of decision, planning, a note on the plan has been added indicating what the architecture standards are.
Perfect.
Another thing that we discussed with the building inspector will be enforcing this.
Right.
And-
Alright, 11's good, 12.
12, allowing the building inspector to enter, is this a permanent thing or just during construction?
So,
Yeah, I believe this was a permanent idea, I mean,
Me
the building
too.
inspector can be there whenever he wants during
And-
construction.
And if it's, because I think it's permanent, like you said, I kind of think it might belong in the declaration or the bylaws or both, and I wanna make sure that's there.
I think a general inspection is in the bylaws, but if you want something more specific, we can add that.
earlier tonight, your request of attaching the conditions,
Right.
we'll have that as,
Where is it here?
they're in order, so top. Town may enter the property to inspect the designated open space area as reasonably required to determine compliance with the designated open space requirements.
Okay,
I don't know that it needs to be more specific than that.
no, that's
now that this will
specific
be
enough that
Yeah.
the,
as an
Attached, yeah.
Someone from the town can go and,
Okay.
if they're violating them, I think.
So we're good on 12 with the understanding that that's part of the
Yeah.
request that notice of decision be addended to the bylaws.
Right.
13.
Right, yeah,
Right,
this,
this
the
is
applicant will add an
5.
easement to the plan for cistern expansion as may be necessary to enable the use of commercial one. If you look on sheet, let's see,
4 and 6.
yeah, 4 and 6, you'll notice the size of the proposed cistern easement. We, as discussed, and we've met with the fire department, will be putting in a 30,000 gallon tank. And this area, the easement shown provides ample room to add to that as required.
Can it be significantly bigger than that even,
Yes.
like 100,000?
I
Yeah,
wanna
How
say,
big can it be?
I'm no engineer, but our proposed is 30, and if you look on page, sheet 8, I believe that shows a 50.
Where?
On sheet 8, in the fire cistern next to the fire lane.
I don't see a fire one, I don't see that on.
There are like 5 holding tanks, on sheet 8 next to the fire lane, north of Oakmont Drive, in between that and the first residential unit.
They're the rectangles.
Yeah, so you have 5 of those rectangles.
I must be missing something.
Is there a note or anything that identifies what those rectangles are on one of these sheets? But it's these 5.
Right, yeah, that's the cistern.
He said 4 and 6, but I think right.
I think a
Ah,
better way to, or I guess we go to sheet 10, it's a little more up close. It shows the 3 tanks held
and
together.
are those 10,000?
Yes, 10,000 each. And now you see the size of the easement in comparison to the cistern.
And so you can get
And
2
you'll see.
more would make 50,000.
Right, plus the
Okay.
easement extends all the way to commercial pad 1 along the road. It extends in both directions. It's that dotted
I see.
line.
Okay.
So there's ample room to probably double or
Is
triple that.
Satisfy you?
Should, I mean, I guess I'd add the caveat that it will depend on what they put up there.
And
Which is
that
up to you
maybe
guys.
becomes an applicant problem if they
Yeah.
can't.
Exactly.
So we just put a fireworks store, can't plan for that, but
Right.
yeah.
Oh, right.
Send them to Tilton.
Right.
Yeah.
Give it to them.
Alright, that was 13. And then 14.
Yeah, stating that we'll obtain / comply with all required state, federal, and local permitting. These permits consist of the AOT permit, DOT driveway permit, and the wetlands permit. And if you go past that page, you'll notice that all the applications have been accepted, which shows that we will be complying with these permits, but it's a 60 to 90 day process, but we've paid and applied for all the permits, and they have to be complied with to start construction.
Does this, I'm not sure who answers this question, does this package of maps go with the approval? Or do we have to make sure that,
So
I believe when
I jump ahead, it's two-part. When we get to the point where every condition is done, because we're not there yet, but we knocked up a lot. The final subdivision approved with the conditions met will be part of the town's property record file. And also the condo doc, so that we would have all those sort of pieces of the condition ultimately in the file. So that if there's a question in the future, that's the final, they'll have a copy of the applicant one and the other.
so in the future, 50 years from now, when there's a problem, we'll have this, and this.
Yeah, and the state will have this.
And this will be in there, which has their excellent, like the addended permit applications.
So all 5 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be in the,
That's my understanding.
Right, and then when we receive the permits, you'll get that as well.
With whatever final document the chair signs as all conditions
Okay.
met.
Right.
and this is as is,
And that is part of it, cause that's how we're confirming.
The only change to that plan that you can expect is that the highlighting won't be there. It's not, it's not
That was the
customary.
highlighting.
Oh, the little red.
Yeah,
The
that's not
walkway.
customary,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. So, like, we're good on all the conditions except for 3, where there's more follow-up.
So we have condition 1, condition 3, A through C,
And then condition 12, yeah, which is sort of encompassed in that.
right, which is kind of, I guess, taken care of as long as we add the conditions of approval to the condo docs.
Yeah. Ken, am I
And the
missing
gun club.
anything from,
I believe so.
oh,
I've just reviewed the email from the attorney, and I think you guys have covered everything.
okay. And part of 3, just to make sure we didn't lose that thread, part of 3 is A, B, and C, but also the reference to,
A gun club.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, we'll just say neighboring parcel,
Well,
lot,
it's across the
map.
road, across the
Right,
road.
yeah,
okay.
map, lot.
They were here, they came into they testified.
So that.
Yeah.
Alright, any public comment from anyone else before we leave this portion of conditions review? Lisa, alright, we're good. Any further questions from us?
Yeah, I guess, so I have a Mylar here, right, which I take it you are gonna wanna wait until the condo docs are
Yes.
completed.
And that's why I wanted us to go through the rest of the conditions, so you know,
Right,
all except for those 3, you're good.
right.
We just need to follow up on those other 3. I don't think the way we left those, that we need a full board meeting to review compliance. Is there a sense from the board that we'd be fine if they provide them to the land use department, they confirm they're in there,
Yeah.
and then I can sign off with those.
So someone's gonna be checking that, all 5, and then the cover
Yes,
letter,
they'll-
the 6th thing.
There'll be follow-up on the legal instruments piece, the 3 additions, and 3, the gun club piece, and the addendum that will attach the notice of decision, which will loop in the town's ability to inspect the open space.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want anything to hold us back from this, so one thing is probably gonna be the date on the plan. I'll probably print new Mylars, or do we wanna leave it as this planning board date?
I would recommend that provide the updated bylaws,
Right.
and then if we say we're good, print new Mylar with the date, and then at that point, I'd be able to sign once we have confirmed that those other conditions are met.
Yeah, I think once we meet all that.
And then don't print them in advance of providing that, just because I don't want you to have to print them again if you think there's some issue. Agreed.
Yeah, so, I think that covers everything.
Good, I think we have marching orders on both sides,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
There you go.
Alright. Any other new business?
Thank you.
Any old business?
Yeah, building permits, some report from the building inspector about numbers or whatever we're gonna get.
I can respond to that. He sent me an email today. I'm sorry I didn't get time to get it out to you guys before the meeting today. I'll send it to Michelle so she can distribute that out. He's gonna be sending quarterly reports to you guys with a breakdown of all building permits. He has a breakdown from 2025 if you want that.
I would love to see
Great,
that,
Yeah.
that would be great.
you know, in due time. whatever next
We'll
meeting.
get that out to you guys in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Love it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other new or old business?
No.
And the best motion that someone can make?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I suppose I
Alright,
said-
all in favor?
Aye.